Jennifer Kesse, born May 20th, 1981, is a woman from Orlando, Florida, who has been missing since January 23rd of 2006. After she vanished, her car was discovered parked around a mile from her home. A security camera recorded a person who could not be identified parking Kesse's car and walking away. The case has received tremendous amount of attention locally and nationally. Jennifer attended the University of Central Florida in Orlando. She graduated in 2003 with a degree in finance. At the time that she had vanished, she was working as a finance manager at a Central Florida investments company. She had recently bought a home in Orlando. The weekend before she went missing, Kesse had vacationed with her boyfriend. She returned on a Sunday. She stayed the night at her boyfriend's home, and she drove straight to work the next morning, that Monday, January 23rd of 2006. Jennifer was seen for the last time leaving work at approximately 6 o'clock p.m. on January 23rd, 2006. She spoke by phone with her father while driving home around 6:15, and then with her boyfriend around 10 p.m. She was in the habit of texting or calling her boyfriend before leaving work, so it was unusual when she did not do either of those things the next morning. His calls went straight to voicemail. When she fails to arrive at work, her employer contacts her parents. They begin to drive 2 hours from their home in Tampa to Florida, where she lives. Her parents noticed that the car was missing, but they saw nothing was really out of the ordinary at her home. There was a wet towel, clothes laid out, among other things, suggesting that she had showered, dressed, got ready for work that morning. Friends and family start putting out flyers and searching the area that evening. The police department organized search parties on foot, horseback, boat, helicopter, car, ATV, pretty much wherever they could get together at the time. So let's take a closer look at the timeline of events here. On Monday, January 23rd, 2006, 6 p.m., Jennifer leaves work, calls her parents. That's the last time that her family hears from her. She arrives home for the first time since she got back from her vacation. Around 10 p.m. that evening, Jennifer and her boyfriend talk by phone. They say goodnight to each other. He is the last known person to speak with her before her disappearance. On Tuesday, January 24th, 2006, 7:30 a.m., investigators believe that she was abducted as she was walking somewhere between her front door to her car. Now they also think that she had left and might have been abducted at some point on her way to work. 8 o'clock a.m., Kesse's boyfriend, who normally would have heard from her at this point, he's calling her. The calls go directly to voicemail. He chalks it up, saying maybe that she was in a meeting that she had mentioned to him or such forth. He continues to call her throughout the morning. Each call is unsuccessful. At 11 a.m., alarmed at Kesse's uncharacteristic no call, no show, her employer contacts her parents. That's when they began to drive from Tampa to Orlando. On the way there, they call the manager of the home area that she's living in to check her home with a spare key. He does. He reports that everything looks normal. Her car is gone, of course. At 12 p.m., 1.2 miles away from Jennifer's home, cameras at an apartment complex record a person in the act of parking her car. They sit in there for 32 seconds. They are apparently wiping the car down, and they walk away. The footage are not discovered until 2 days later. At 3 o'clock p.m., Jennifer's parents, her brother arrive at her apartment. They find evidence that she had been home that morning. They call the police. Kesse's an adult. Police initially say maybe she left on her own will, and they don't initially kick off the local law enforcement search. This is something that has actually been changed due to this case in the law since her disappearance all these years ago. At 5 o'clock p.m., family and friends are searching the area. They're putting flyers out that show Kesse's picture. They're talking to people, asking questions, knocking on doors. Police send a detective to her home and begin asking questions themselves, doing interrogations and searches. On Thursday, days later, January 26, 2006, at 8:10 a.m. in the morning, seeing that Kesse's car was on the news, someone in a nearby apartment complex informs the police that it had sat abandoned in front of their apartment for several days. Police do confirm that it is Kesse's 2004 Chevy Malibu. The vehicle is photographed and taken for forensic examination. Police examine local surveillance footage and discover an identified person parking her car, sitting in it for about half a minute, wiping things down, walking away. With no sign of a forced entry, any kind of struggle, Detectives initially believed that on the morning of January 24th, Jennifer Kesse left her apartment for work. She locked her front door only to be abducted at some point while walking towards or getting into her car. On January 26th, around 8:10 a.m., the black 2004 Chevrolet Malibu was found parked at another apartment complex about a mile from her own. Investigators were excited to learn that several cameras had been kind of hidden in the area at the apartments and were watching a part of the lot where the car had been parked, as well as the exit. They actually see this person on camera parking her vehicle, getting out of it. The surveillance footage showed an unidentified person of interest dropping her vehicle off approximately at noon of the day that she went missing. This should be damning evidence. None of her family or friends recognize the person, though. And from the video, the physical features of this person are not very clear. Investigators were disheartened to find that the best capture of this subject is in 3 separate snapshots. Unfortunately, these pictures were blocked by the complex fencing. The posts of the fence aligned just perfectly in each picture to cover the face of the suspect. A journalist called the suspect the luckiest person of interest ever. The FBI was called in to help determine the person's size, gender. All they could really say is that this person stood between 5'3" and 5'5". They actually called in NASA to help enhance the video, trying to help identify the suspect. Detectives interpreted the valuables left inside the car to imply that robbery was not a motive in the case. Nothing was stolen. A search dog comes in, tracks a scent that led from the parked car back to her apartment. That makes detectives believe that maybe the suspect might have returned to her apartment's parking lot after abandoning the car, although there's no other evidence that was found along the route. A forensic examination of the car itself yielded hardly anything in the way of evidence. Small DNA fiber, a little bit of a print. Investigators believe that the car had been wiped down pretty thoroughly. There were a few items known to be missing, however: her cell phone, her iPod, her keys, her purse, her briefcase, and of course the outfit she was wearing that morning. Law enforcement was unable to ping her cell phone, its power remaining off. Her bank account has not been used since her disappearance. As these cases go, investigators first questioned Kesse's immediate family, her close friends, just to see if any of them could have had any kind of motive to abduct her. Her ex-boyfriend, recently upset and wishing to get back together with her, was also questioned, but it was concluded he had nothing to do with her abduction. Her current boyfriend was also questioned, but he had an alibi that checked out and eliminated him as a suspect. At the time of her disappearance, Kesse's apartment complex had been undergoing a major expansion, and many of the laborers on site were non-English speaking. Kesse had told family members on several occasions that the construction workers constantly catcalled her, whistled at her, harassed her. Due to the language barrier, investigators were unable to question many of them, and no other leads regarding them have been discovered. They were gone like that. Investigators and Kesse's friends and family remain open to the theory that she fell victim to human trafficking. Now, throughout the years, there's been sudden breakthroughs in the case where they think they might have a lead. They'll go search a body of water or search something, and yet none of those have turned out. All these years later, her body's never been discovered, and people do not know what happened to Jennifer Kesse. Famous. Not famous.